The fear of missing out. Something humans have always struggled with. And living in the 21st century, FOMO is at an all-time high. Because we literally see it all. Social media has done a lot for us. After all, we're able to connect with people who we even would never be able to connect with otherwise. You're able to find new people who live lives that you want to live, and a bunch of other great things that have positively influenced our lives. But a somewhat downside of social media is that we only really see the highlights of people's lives. So it really makes their life seem more appealing than what it actually is. Or maybe you just haven't seen everything that has taken that person to get to that point. But I think we've all heard this before, and as an audience seeing this, it can feel very easy to feel like you're missing out on life, which takes focus off of your own life and places it onto others. And the problem with that is that we see what everyone else is doing, and we forget what we are doing. As a 20-year-old, we may see other 20-year-olds who are living lives with clear goals and finding success. And whether these people inspire you or you feel like you just get discouraged, you can't help but feel like you're missing out. FOMO keeps us from enjoying the present moment. Obviously, right? But sometimes we underestimate this. When you experience FOMO, you're playing a comparison game. Now let me set something straight before we move on. I believe that FOMO can be a good thing at times, as sometimes it lights that fire underneath your ass to actually get you doing something that'll actually lead to your overall betterment. After all, sometimes you are the source of your own FOMO, but it is only good depending on how you perceive your comparison. For example, I really want to build a physique similar to some of my favorite fitness influencers, but instead of just focusing on Chris Bumstead's biceps in comparison to mine, I look at them as inspiration as to what hard work brings. And this is a healthy example of how FOMO can be beneficial, such as realizing that you can push yourself so much further than what you're already at, and it just keeps pushing you to reach new goals, especially when others are around you are pushing themselves to new levels, pushing that needle further. But obviously there is negative FOMO out there, which doesn't lead to your betterment, and it just really gives you the grass is always greener on the other side kind of mindset. So the way that I like to think of this form of FOMO is the Teeter Totter syndrome. And the example is that basically when you put emphasis on one part of your life, you feel like you need to fulfill a different part of your life to even it out. Kinda like, yeah, you guess it, a Teeter Totter. Humans innately aspire to be something, to do big things and have purpose. But we also want to experience life, build relationships, and have fun. And let me know if this sounds familiar. You feel a huge urge to complete the task that you need to do because maybe you've been lacking on doing it, or maybe you just have an urge of motivation. You get into this grind mode mindset and you just start knocking at your work. A couple hours go by and then you check your phone and realize that there's a party happening that same night. Even though you have tons of work that you know you need to get done, you can't help but feel like you're missing out. So you get this sudden urge and rage and FOMO. Your heart starts beating fast and you just feel like you should need to be elsewhere. So you decide to go, and then as soon as you're at the party, you just can't help but feel bad because you left all your work at your home, even though you set out to finish it. And the point is, you're never focused on where you're actually at. When you're working, you feel like, maybe I should be hanging out with my friends more because maybe I'm working too much and I'm young and all yada yada. And then when you're actually hanging out with your friends, you may be like, well, I actually need to get to work because there's a lot of things that need to get done. If I want to reach the goals that I know that I want to reach in life that'll ultimately lead to my betterment, then I gotta get these things done. So it's a constant feeling of like you need to be somewhere else other than the place that you actually are. So to better understand our FOMO, we have to understand the facts about it. So according to the Psychiatry Research Journal, 56% of individuals experience FOMO at some point in their life. And this study was not subjective to age or gender. So more than half of people experience FOMO in some type of way at some point in their life. The Psychiatry Research Journal also found that FOMO was linked to an increased use of social media, and this was found to have profound negative effects on mood. Another research study done by computers and human behavior found that FOMO is associated with lower life satisfaction. This research also found that FOMO does cause increased need to engage on social media, which provides evidence that FOMO and social media both work together to negatively affect your life, the way you perceive yourself, and may ultimately lead to depression. So now that we know how bad FOMO can be for our mental health, how can we get rid of it? Although FOMO is something that we all experience, FOMO feels like a very isolated and individualized phenomenon. After all, you don't really feel like you're missing out on too much if a bunch of other people around you are also missing out. It's way easier to feel better about yourself if you miss a party and literally everyone said that it was lame or whatever, because you don't feel like you missed out on anything. But FOMO is inevitable. So how can we stop it or at least control it? An article done by Bustle found a variety of great things that can help you battle FOMO, such as understanding that you might not be missing out at all. Sometimes we fixate on what we aren't experiencing and think that everything that we're missing out on is good and fun. But it's important to realize that life is filled with with decisions. Saying yes to one thing is directly saying no to another thing. So if you're missing out on a party on a Friday night because you gotta get up early on that Saturday morning to write a YouTube script that only a handful of people are ever gonna watch, in hopes that it can grow into something bigger than what it actually is now, instead of being wasted on the side of the road for the 5th time this month. That sounded really specific, but I'm sure someone can relate. Another thing is to stop checking social media every 30 minutes. This seems intuitive, but it's easier said than done. But it just makes sense to cut off the thing that is actually causing your anxiety. And it's important to realize that sometimes it's okay to just chill back home on a Friday night. You work hard and deserve some rest. You should also be able to determine when you are causing your own FOMO by saying no to social events that you know that you're not going to do anything better with your time. You know, are you saying no to that party because you genuinely have stuff to do? Or are you saying no because you don't want to address your social anxiety? It's good to interact with people and to put yourself out there. Put yourself into situations that make you uncomfortable to a degree. And finally, learn to be okay with not being able to do it all. Sometimes things just don't work out. And life comes up and you just can't do something that you want to do. Just take what you can get and keep living your life to your own beat. The people who I admire most in life are the people who can live life by their own terms and don't let the fear of missing out dictate their very next action and where they should be at any given time. I admire the people who can say no because it'll ultimately lead to their success, happiness, and betterment. And in the world filled with social media being the gauge of overall life success and happiness, performance and status, it's easy to fall into this trap of feeling, well, like you're less. And social media has done a great job of making happiness a competition. And the truth is, happiness cannot be mimicked nor faked. It is something that you get from yourself and only from yourself. And an individual who is truly happy can much better combat FOMO, as they are secure with who they are. So in a nutshell, be you, do you, for you. Once you realize that everything that you could ever want in life is already yours, life gets easier and you don't miss out on much. Thank you guys for watching this video, and if you guys like this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. And please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.